value, then it's going to be need again. So because of that, if they keep it somewhere nearby, then it's going to be fetched very rapidly than it's fetching from the main memory. So because of that, it's going to be extremely fast. So if you make some variable volatile, then it will just degrade the speed, but still it will avoid the cache coherence problem. And then we discussed about the race conditions. So I told you, if there are two processes, the order of the process, the execution order of the execution of the process may sometimes lead to different output, right? So this is called as a race condition. So if we do not have any synchronization method, then so we have to expect maybe multiple outputs if the output can be different based on the order of the operations, right? සමහරට දන්නවා ඇති සමහර arithmetic operations තියෙනවා order එක වෙනස් කරොත් output එක වෙනස්. එතකොට arithmetic operations parallelly නම් කරේ. එතකොට order එක වෙනස් වුණාම output එක වෙනස් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ විතරක් නෙමෙයි සමහර يعني arithmetically order එක precision එක වැදගත් නොවුණත් අපි processes දෙකක් එකපාර කරනවා නම් දෙකක් කීපයක් එකපාර කරනවා නම් කරන order එක මත result එක වෙනස් වෙනවා, right? So I gave you one example where two processes A and B access one single variable and to increase the value of that. So if the both variable accessing the same, if the both processing accessing the same variable at the same time, then we don't know what the end value is. It might be just one or it might be just two, right? So whatever the order, based on the order, we'll get just different output. Now, this is mainly because we don't have atomic process. Atomic process means now we can consider increase as an atomic process if it happens just once, right? So that means it just simply increase the value and suddenly the increased value is appear. But generally it does not happen. Typically there are sub-processes available. For an example, just for the incrementation, increasing a value, then we have to just first load the value from the variable and then increase itself, and then again we store the value back to this variable. So while we are doing this process, some other process may be lower the value and then increase the value and then store it again. So likewise, one of these process can be done maybe one after the other, even though these all three processes should be included in the simple increment operation. So I told you race conditions are not all bad, right? Here we have just bad race condition because the output is the output is significant, right? So we actually need a correct output, and we have some expectation over the output, and in some cases it doesn't matter what is the output, right? In some cases, if the race order has been different and you get the different output, so still for the application the output is acceptable. right? Again, output එක මොක වුණත් ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. ඒ කියන්නේ order එක මත depend වෙන output එකක් ආවට අපිට ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. ඒ වගේ වෙලාවට race condition එක ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ අත්තම. So the best way to avoid the bad race condition is the synchronization, right? So synchronization means we simply order some parallel process, right? We just make, okay, process A has to be completed before process B, right? So we make that condition, right? We made that condition, and also we made the process run in that order. So that is called synchronization, right? So in the previous example, we actually need to synchronize the increment operation. So to enforce the mutual exclusion on access to the X. So that means not both the operations need to access or has to access the X at the same time. So we call, okay, first access the X by A, and then it can, once the A is finished, then we can take over the execution, right? So there are two ways of synchronization, and most of this synchronization can be regarded as either mutual exclusion or mutex. We call it as mutex, or maybe conditional synchronization or condition synchronization. So what are these two? Mutex or the mutual exclusion is just making sure that only one process is executing the critical section. Now, in reality, if we have more than one process running at the same time, we really don't have to synchronize the entire thing, right? So we only have to synchronize only the critical part of that parallel. Because if you have a parallel program and if you entirely synchronize it, right, what does that mean? It's not going to be a parallel program, right? So එක විට වැඩ කරන එහෙම නැත්නම් concurrently වැඩ කරන processes හිතන්නකො 10ක් තියෙනවා. මේ 10 තියෙන program එකේ ඇත්තටම එකපාර මේ process 10ක් එකපාර run කරන්න පුළුවන්. එකපාර කියන්නේ ඇත්තටම එකම වෙලාවෙදි process 10ම run වෙනවා, right? So assume that there is a bad race condition. අපිට දැන් මෙතන bad race condition එකක් පේන්න තියෙනවා. එතකොට අපි මොකද කරන්නේ? මේක synchronize කරනවා. So what does it mean by synchronization? We just ask this process to work in an order, right? එතකොට මොකද වෙන්නේ දැන්? අපි parallel program එකක් මේක. නමුත් අපි synchronize කරාට පස්සේ එකකට පස්සේ එකක් තමයි වැඩ කරන්නේ. ඇයි අපි ඒක තමයි enforce කරන්නේ. එතකොට මේ program එක parallel වෙන එකකින් වැඩක් නැහැ. right? ඇයි? අපි සම්පූර්ණ program එකම අපි synchronize කරලා තියෙන්නේ. එතකොට parallelly දැන් process 10ක් වෙන්න තිබ්බ එක එකපාර දැන් වෙන්නේ එකකට පස්සේ එකක්. එතකොට කලින් තප්පරේ නම් ගියේ දැන් තප්පර 10ක් යනවා. එක process එකකට තප්පරේ නම් ගියේ දැන් process 10ට තප්පර 10ක් යනවා. මේක වැරදි. right? So what we can do, so we need to have the parallel program, the concurrent operation, as well as we need to just remove the bad race condition. So what we have to do is, okay, you have to carefully check which part is the bad race condition, right? Which part is the bad race condition. So that means not the whole program, but only part of the program actually cause this problem, right? එකෙන් එක කොටසක් විතරයි අපිට එකපාර කරන්න බැරි. අනිත් ඔක්කොම දේවල් එකපාර කරන්න පුළුවන්. So we just pick, okay, this is the section that we cannot do in parallel way. So we call that part as a critical section, right? That's a critical section. So what we have to do is we just isolate the critical section and then we add that synchronization. So as I told you before, we have just two types of synchronization methods: mutual exclusion and conditional synchronization. So in mutual exclusion, we are making sure that only one process is executing the critical section for a particular time. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒ critical section එක කියන එක එහෙම නැත්නම් මොකක් හරි particular operation එකක් ඒක operate වෙන්නේ එක process එකකින් විතරයි. ඒක අනිවාර්යෙන් enforce කරන එකක් අපි mutual exclusion එකකදී. Right? So that's one method. The other one is conditional synchronization. So conditional synchronization means we are making sure that the given process does not proceed until some condition holds. Right? So for an example, a variable has to be accessed by one of the process, and we are not allowing that process to access the variable until the variable consists of a particular value, right? ඒ කියන්නේ එක variable එක value එක 100ට වඩා වැඩි වුණොත් විතරයි ඒ value එක process කරන්න දෙන්නේ. උදාහරණයක් විදිහට හිතන්නකෝ increase කරන්න කියලා. එහෙම නැත්නම් ඒ value එක read කරලා තව මොකක් හරි operation එකක් කරන්න කියලා. එතකොට process එක wait වෙලා බලාගෙන ඉන්නවා මේකේ value එක වැඩි වෙනකන්. එහෙම නැත්නම් 100 වෙනකන් බලාගෙන. 100 වෙනවා කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? ඒක තමයි condition එක. Right? So mutual exclusion is actually special condition of or special case of conditional synchronization. Right? ඒ කියන්නේ mutual exclusion කියන එකත් අපිට implement කරන්න පුළුවන් conditional synchronization එක. හැබැයි conditional synchronization is more vast, a kind of superset of the mutual exclusion. So we can do much more stuff or many more stuff than the mutual exclusion in conditional synchronization, because the process can be waited until some conditions have been satisfied. Right. So what's the difference actually? The mutual exclusion versus the conditional synchronization. So the distinction is the extension as universal quantification, right? So mutual exclusion requires multi-processors consensus, right? How? Okay, when you take the mutual exclusion, then you are making sure that only one process is executing the critical section, right? So that means one process accesses it at the time, right? Any given time, only one process accesses that particular critical section. In case of conditional synchronization, we are making sure that given process does not proceed until some condition holds, right? So there might be multiple processes, and sometimes there can be two processes on the same critical section because these two processes have satisfied their conditions, right? And just one process again still waiting because that the permitting condition has not been still satisfied, right? So what's the main difference? Mutual exclusion, only one process at a time. In conditional synchronization, only the condition, right? A condition has to be satisfied. So there is no restriction to access the variable or a restriction to access the critical section just by only one process at a time, right? තේරුණානේ? එතකොට mutual exclusion එකේදී තමයි අපි අනිවාර්යෙන් enforce කරනවා එක process එකයි මේ critical section එකට ඇතුල් වෙන්න පුළුවන් සහ පිට වෙන්න පුළුවන්. conditional synchronization එකේදී එකකට වැඩි වුණත් ඇතුල් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි ඇතුල් වෙන කෙනා කියන්නේ මේ process කරන කෙනා අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම condition එකක් satisfy. කියන්නේ එයාට අදාළ condition එක satisfy වෙලා තියෙනවා. right? එහෙම වෙලා නම් ඔක්කොගෙම වෙලා නම් ඔක්කොම processes වලට access කරන්නත් පුළුවන්. ඒ ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. right? So I told you about this over synchronization. Right? So we do not generally want to over synchronize. We need to synchronize, especially we have just bad race condition. And if you just over synchronize, or maybe if you just synchronize the entire program, then you simply eliminate the parallelism, right? ඒ කියන්නේ මේ concurrent programming කියන එක නැත්නම් එක විට දුවන එක විට ධාවන වෙනවා කියන එක නැති වෙලා යනවා synchronize කර සම්පූර්ණ synchronize කරලා, right? So we do parallel computing to improve the performance, right? Computational performance, especially to reduce the time taken for the computation. So that's the ultimate target in most of the case. So if you just again resynchronize it, then definitely you won't be able to just make it parallel, right? So we were discussing about the over synchronization. So I told you now we actually cannot do over synchronization because especially if you do if you enforce synchronization for the whole program, it's going to be just sequential program, which is simply the traditional program which we were writing in the previous for the previous lessons, right? Right. So how do we implement synchronization? Now, to implement synchronization, we have to have something that is atomic, right? What is atomic? Atomic means it happens all at once as an individual action, right? That's one thing. So if there's a process which happens all at once, right, then we call it as atomic. Now, if you just check the previous increment operation, right? Increment operation, we cannot actually consider it as an increment operation from the low level, right? Because it has many levels or many sub processes just to do the incrementing, right? Variable එකක් තියෙනවා, variable එකේ value එක load කරන්න ඕන, right? Okay ඇත්තටම register අපි කියන්නේ assembly language එක ගත්තොත් එහෙම ඒකේ තව තියෙනවා. කියන්නේ මුලින් registers වලට අපි register address කරන්න ඕනේ, ඉතින් registers වලින් values load කරන්න ඕන, right? ඊට පස්සේ ඒකට constant එකක් create කරන්න ඕන. එතකොට ඒ දෙක එකතු කරන්න ඕන, memory allocation temporary හැදෙන්න ඕන, ඒ value එක ඒකට දාන්න ඕන. දාලා ඊට පස්සේ ඒ value එක තමයි ආපහු send කරන්න ඕන දාලා register එකට, right? ඔය සේරම කරන්න ඕන just for the increment, right? And in most of the machine, reads and write of individual memory locations are just atomic, right? What does that mean? So if you read memory location, then we can just consider it as an atomic process, right? And in earlier machines, reads and writes of individual memory locations were all atomic, right? Parallel machines වල සාමාන්‍ය read and write ඔක්කොම atomic operations. So atomic operations කියන්නේ read කරපුවාම ඒ operation එකේ තව sub processes නැහැ. You are just reading, right? So synchronization is generally implicit in memory passing models, right? And the reason is the message must be sent before it can be received, right? So because of that, somehow we have to send the message in order to receive. So because of that, it's implicit in memory passing model. And in shared memory, unless we do something special, for an example, making some changing some value of the variable. So a new receiving thread will not necessarily wait, right? And they could read an old value of the variable before it has been written by the sending thread. So what does that mean? So now this is shared memory. You have just a variable and or the variable or a memory allocation, then multiple threads can be access this variable at the same time. So another thread can just keep processing, right, with maybe older value before the other thread actually sending the new value to the variable, right? So we typically use a kind of model called spinning or blocking, right? ඕන මේ model දෙකේම අපිට spinning or blocking කියන දෙකම පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන්. Now spinning means what? Now maybe you have seen in some cases when you load a web page, right? There's a spinning, right? Until it's fully loaded, you can see there's a spinning icon in the middle. This is something like that. Here what we do is we just implement a thread and we keep checking until okay some variable holds a particular value, right? Kind of condition, and then we write a for loop or maybe just a while loop, right? So what happens if you just write a while loop with the condition to be true for the whole time? What really happens is when you set the condition to the true of a while loop, it's going to be loop infinitely, right? So without any, it's going to be loop. So what if we can just suddenly change that condition to the false? Then it simply returns from the loop and then start work or start continuing from the remaining code. Now we call this one as spinning or a kind of blocking, right? Because until that while has been ended, right, then that thread will not be continued. So principal options of concurrency, there are around 6 principles: core begins, parallel loops, non-chat elaboration, fork, or maybe with join, implicit receipt, and early reply. Right. So core begin means each statement is usually subrouting call, but can be any sequential or parallel compound itself. Right. So this is something like a snippet of code which can be run with another snippet, right? But the statements actually run one after the others. But this set of statements can be run parallelly, or the set of statements can be run parallelly with another set of statements. And the parallel loops. So this specifies a loop whose iterations happens concurrently. So one example is the parallel loop in C#. Now this is actually implementable in C#, right? If I show you how it is implemented, I will create a quickly create a new project. It's going to be a, let's say, console application C#. Let's say parallel loops. Okay, this is okay, right? Just the 3.1. There you go. Okay, let's on this program. Right. So here we have just a hello world, right, as usual. So let's press on okay, so how do we implement it? So first of all, we have to have this parallel.for, right? And we have to give from which number to which number that we are going to loop, right? And then here we have to add the iterating variable, right? Iterating variable at this mark equal and angle bracket. So you can have this the braces. Within the braces you can write any number of statements. As I remember, you have to use this threading, right? So that means here to use this parallel class, you should use system.threading.task. Here, okay, I will just show not 0, right? 0 to, let's say, 10,000. And I'm going to write, okay, simply I, just I, right? I think I can run any digit. Yes. And okay, I will remove this part. Now, what to expect? We have a for loop from 0 to 10,000. And what I'm asking, just print the I, right? I is the iterative variable. And let's run this. Okay, there we go. Right, great. Now let's see what happened. There is no any order, right? Okay, it starts with just 5,836, then 5,837 and 174. And here we have just 191, 192, 193. So what does that mean? Okay, this must be the somewhere not the beginning, right? There must be some other values at the beginning, but somehow due to the buffer size of my console, right? මගේ buffer size, කියන්නේ console buffer size එක ටිකක් අඩුයි. අඩු නිසා අර සම්පූර්ණ output එකම පෙන්වන්න බැරි නිසා මේකේ මගේ ඉඳන් තමයි පෙන්වන්නේ. අපි 1000ක් වගේ දාලා බලමු සමහරට පුළුවන් වෙයි. But anyway, you can see now there is no any particular order. The reason is these are just parallel, right? This running each and every iteration runs one not one after the other, but parallel with the other iteration. So whenever they get the chance, they will just iterate, right? ඒ කියන්නේ මෙතන දැන් 10000ක් තියෙනවා අතන. processes 10000ක් තියෙනවා. මේ 10000 බිංදුව 1 2 3 4 කියලා නෙවෙයි වැඩ කරන්නේ. පළවෙනි කෙනාට දැන් i සමානයි බිංදුවට chance එක හම්බුනොත් එයා execute වෙනවා. ඊළඟට i සමානයි 999ට එයාට chance එක හම්බුනොත් ඊට පස්සේ එයා තමයි execute iterate වෙන්නේ. right? ඔක තමයි සාමාන්‍ය parallel loop එක විදිය. right? Right, now the next one is the launch at elaboration. So in some languages, so code for the thread looks like that of a subrouting with no parameters, right? So when the declaration is elaborated, a thread is created to execute the code. Now this is one example in the language ADA or ADA. So here we have a procedure. So we have to pass, we have to execute this procedure, and where we have a task T, right? So task T has its own block. Can you see? Task T is, so this Eclipse mark or triple dot actually implies the block of the T, right? And it executes to begin, right? Sorry, the begins to execute as soon as the P is entered, or maybe the P is to be a P is executed. So if the P is recursive, then there will be many copies of T operating concurrently, right? So what does that mean? මේ T කියන task එක T කියන task එක block වෙන්නේ නැහැ, right? The task T will not be blocked. So when you call or when you execute the P, and when the task T is executed, it simply goes to the end, but still the task now somewhere else, task is actually working, but the procedure P will not be hold until to get the end of the T. But within the procedure P, you can see there's a term called begin, right? So begin P and end P. So that means you are calling the P itself within the P, right? We call this as recursion or recursive calling of the procedure. So what does that mean? If you call P within the P, then again this same method will be called and there will be a task, right? And the task again will be started working, and ultimately again you are calling the P. So again you are coming back to the P as at the end of the P, some in another instance. Now likewise you keep calling the P again and again, right? Called in some condition, and then for each procedure you have another task, right? Now these tasks actually going to be run parallelly, right? Right, fork and join. So fork makes the creation of threads explicit executable task, right? So we typically don't use this fork method in our C#, right? And we use join. This is the reverse of fork, right? Maybe if you have ever discussed or ever learned UML, right? Unified Modeling Language, maybe under object-oriented analysis and design, then you may just show the fork and join in activity diagrams, right? Activity diagrams yes, it's in activity diagrams. That's something called fork and join, right? To show the flow. Now this is something similar to that. So the join mean it's a reverse of fork, which shows the thread to wait for the completion of a previously forked thread, right? Now this is the C# syntax for the fork. Now there's a class called image renderer, right? And it has a construct image renderer. And what it does, it has another method. So we create a new object out of the image renderer, and then we create a thread out of the object, and then we can. Now this is actually the forking, and I will show you how to join. Okay, this is how you join. So calling the thread is the forking, and joining can be done in this way, right? How can you do that? Here we have the main method, right? And okay, I will show you this. So this is our main, right? So I will just write console dot write line. Now this is the main thread, right? Main thread started. Right now we are going to just create a thread, right? But before we are creating a thread, we'll create what to do within the thread, right? It's going to be static void start. Okay, follow the convention, right? So what to do? Console dot write line. Okay, this is the child thread, right? This is not the main thread. Child thread started, right? So what to do with the child thread? Let's quickly create a for loop. Okay, we'll send it to 100, right? From 1 to 100, and I'm going to just write the console dot write line, right? And now I will show you. It's end. child thread ends, right? So now this start method is going to be called within a thread very easily. Thread T1, T1 equal new thread. Here you have to provide the which method that you are going to call. Okay, that's one problem. The problem is now we have to import something. What do we have to import? Threading. Right now we have just imported the surrounding one, so we don't have to use this one. Right now T1 has to be started. T1 dot start. And we can just print console dot write line main thread ends. Right now what happens? First of all, this is our main method. So first of all, it should show main thread started, and then we have executed our child thread here, right? So under the child thread, what to print? Child thread started, and it has to print all this stuff right from 0 to 100, and then we have to it has to show the child thread ends, and then what? Write line main thread ends. Now this is the expected result. Let's run and we'll see what happens. There you go. Okay, what happens? Main thread started and main thread ends. So what does that mean? අපි main thread එක create කරලා අපි main thread එක end වෙන්න කලින් අපි child thread එක හදනවා. child thread එක start කරන එකත් කරනවා. හැබැයි මේ output එකේ හැටියට child thread එක start වෙන්නේ main thread එක stop වුණාටත් පස්සේ. ඒක කොහොමද වෙන්නේ? ඒක වෙන්න හේතුව තමයි there is no any guarantee that when you call start it suddenly start this method and execute everything and then go to the and then return from this method, right? So this method returns soon after it is invoke කරපු ගමන්ම එයා return වෙනවා, right? T1 dot start simply returns soon after it is invoked. Invoke means you just call it, soon after you call it returns, right? Then it simply prints this one. So what happens to this code? It actually starts, right? It actually start running after some time, right? Again, resources තියෙන හැටියට තමයි මෙයා start වෙන්නේ. මේක ඇවිල්ලා separate program එකක්. So because of that, you can find it simply prints this one and it simply start, and since it takes some time to prepare the execution of this one, it simply returns, and then within that preparation time it simply prints this one as well, right? ඔක තමයි වෙන්නේ. එතකොට එකක් ඉවරුනාට පස්සේ අනිත් එක වෙනව නෙවෙයි, මේක කෙලින්ම මෙතනින් ඉවර වෙලා පල්ලෙහාකට එනවා. Now what's the purpose of join? Now here we did use join. Now we are asking, okay, join T1 dot join. Now let's see the output of again. Now this is the previous output, old output, main thread started, main thread ends, and child thread started, and it prints 0 to 100 in very correct sequential manner, because මේ iterations වැඩ කරන්නේ sequence මේ parallelly නෙවෙයි. එතකොට 99 වෙනකම් වැඩ කරා child thread ends, right? Now okay, let's print right now let's run it again. There you go. Now what happened? Main thread started Okay, now then child thread started, right? Why does it happen? Previously it was main thread started and main thread ends. Now main thread ends is not here. The reason is we use t1.join, right? We used t1.join. So what's the purpose? So when you call join, right, main thread waits to join with t1. Main thread is this is the main thread, and it waits until the t1 join. T1 join means t1 has to finish its task over the start, right? Means start එකෙන් කියලා තියෙන task එක ඉවර කරන්න ඕන මෙයාත් එක්ක join වෙන්න නම්. එතකොට කවුද join වෙන්නේ? මෙන්න මේ main කියන method එක මග බලාගෙන ඉන්නවා t1 එක join වෙන්න. එතකොට t1 වැඩ ඉවර කරලා මගට ආවට පස්සේ main thread එකත් එක්ක join වෙලා එතකොට දෙන්න ඉවර වෙනවා. right? මොකද මෙයාගේ join කියන එක ඇත්තටම execute මෙයා return වෙද්දි right? මෙයාගෙන් start එකෙන් කියන්නේ මෙන්න මේ start කියන method එකේ තියෙන ටික වැඩ කරලා ඉවරයි. ඔයාලට start වෙන method එකක් වෙන නමක් උනත් දාන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෑ. Only thing is you have to just pass a method reference here. Right? I think that you yes, I think that you understood the concept, right? So main thread waits to join with T1, and also T1 dot join, right? T1 dot join does not return until the T1 finishes the task or the execution, right? Finishes the let's say the task, just return the task, right? So I will run it again to make sure that it works, right? So whatever the times, so how many times you run it, still you should get the same output, right? Every time main thread ends first. So main thread ends at the end. If you remove this one, then output is not predictable. Yeah, main thread ends before the first one. Right, again it's in that way. Right, eventually sometimes you may find the main thread sometimes end when the child thread started. That's also possible, right? Again, main thread started, child thread started, and then main thread ends, and then the remaining part of the child thread may be working. So that's also possible, right? So based on the performance of your computer, right? You can computer performance anuwa samalata me output එක වෙනස් වෙන්න පුළුවන් when you don't have the join. But when you have the join, right, definitely you will have, right, you should have the same output like this. Right. So this is how the threads work in the user space and the kernel, right? So typically we call a process as a thread in user space. So in the user space, we have a thread scheduler where it keeps a pool of threads, right? Pool of thread. Again, threads pool එකක් තියෙනවා user space එකේ. So these threads will be scheduled to executed by the thread scheduler, and the threads will be then called as process, right? Or maybe just inject into the process that is in the kernel, OS kernel, right, operating system kernel. So it's going to be just several processes. And මේ threads අපි අන්තිමට process එකක් වෙලා තමයි kernel මේ process එකට යන්නේ. So there it will be handled as a process in the OS kernel, right? So the thread scheduler typically works both with the threads and the process, and then it will send to the processor available, right? Processor available in your computer, right? So how many processors are there in your computer? Typically one processor, right? සාමාන්‍ය අපි දන්නවා consumer computers වල නැත්නම් desktop computers නැත්නම් laptop computers වල සාමාන්‍යයෙන් processors තියෙන්නේ එකයි, right? So have you ever seen multiple processor or multiprocessor systems? Anybody? So there are multiprocessor systems available in some of the Apple machines as well as some server machines, right? සමහර servers තියෙනවා කියන්නේ මෙහෙම සමහර නේ සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපි පාවිච්චි කරන ගොඩක් server machines එහෙම නැත්නම් proxy servers එහෙම නැත්නම් file servers එහෙම නැත්නම් VDI solutions, virtualization desktop environment infrastructures. So these kind of devices, and at the same time some of the consumer devices from Apple, like not actually consumer, right? They are industry computers like Mac Pro, right? ඒ වගේ සමහර boards වල එනවා processors එකක් නෙමෙයි දෙකක් හෝ කීපයක් එන්න පුළුවන්, right? Now typically we have just two processor boards, right? We actually have it, and also multiprocessor boards are also available. Now what actually we have is just multi-core processors, right? Multi-core processor means just not many different physical processors, but having physical cores in the same processor. So you have actually one unit of processor, right? අපි physically අපි කඩෙන් ගන්නවා නම් එක unit එකයි ගන්නෙ, but inside that unit we'll have more than one processor, right? Sorry, more than one core, right? So maybe you may already know about this, but I like to show you so this is Asus multiprocessor board. Gaming board having two processors equipped for two processors. Another one. So what is about multi-core? So there you go. Multi-core processor means you have just one processor but having several cores inside the processor, right? So that means we have actually separate physical processing units within the same processor. So we call this one as just a single processor because they are definitely sharing memory, right? They definitely have a shared memory for these multiple processors. So multiple cores within the same processor, and sometimes they may have their own cache, right? ඒ කියන්නේ ගොඩ low level cache එකක් තියෙන්න පුළුවන් මේ හැම core එකකටම, right? So this one having just two cores, right? Two cores, and also it looks like each core can handle two threads, right? So what does that mean? So in my case, I have I will show you in my CPU. I have just 6 cores, right? 6 cores and around 12 logical processors. What does that mean? this is actually hexacore processor, right? This is a hexacore processor, which is quite a high-end processor, and at the same time I have just 12 logical processors. 12 logical processors mean, now by the way, anybody know the idea of these 12 logical processors? What does it mean by 12 logical processors? 6 core and 12 logical processors. Threads mean half answer. B126. Threads mean it's a half answer. Threads, it's something has to do with the threads, correct? You mean 12 threads? Yeah, that's that. Okay, in that way, it's correct, right? So that means there are 6 cores. Each core can handle 2 threads, right? We call it as hyperthreading, right? Hyperthreading. So that means any given time, my entire system can handle just 12 threads, right? 12 threads. So if I show you device manager, you should be able to see actually when you go to the processor, there you have all 12, right? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12, right? So all these threads actually run in the typical hertz of 2.2 gigahertz, right? So this is the clock rate. Now this is the typical clock rate, right? And based on the requirement, it will just increase. By the way, 2.2 gigahertz mean roughly how many cycles per second? තප්පරයකට cycles කීයක්ද gigahertz 2.2ක් කියන්නේ. අපි දැන් මෙහෙමනේ clock rate එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ මේක cycles, right? මේක ඇත්තටම loop එකක්නේ. මේ CPU එකේ තියෙන්නේ clock cycles තමයි තියෙන clock cycles ගණන තමයි තප්පරයකට එන ගණන තමයි මේ gigahertz වලින් කියන්නේ. එතකොට 2.2 gigahertz කියන්නේ තප්පරයකට cycles කීයක්ද? It's around 2.2 billion, right? As I remember, 1 gigahertz means just 1 billion cycles. So 2.2 billions of cycles in typical case. So that means just assume how many threads that you can process within just 1 second, right? Now we have just 12 in my machine. I have just 12. You can also check, probably you may have just at least 8, right? සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අඩුම ගානේ 8ක් නෑ, සමහරතරක් 8ක්, එහෙම නැත්නම් 12ක්, right? කලාතුරකින් ඊට වැඩිය වැඩි වෙන්නත් පුළුවන්, right? Now typically at least you should have 4, right? සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපි dual core to duo machine එකක් නම්, right? If you have just core to duo mean you should have just 2 cores, and each core consists of hyperthreading features core. So that means you have 4 logical cores, right? And each core may work maybe just 2 gigahertz, 3 gigahertz, 4 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz, right? Even 6 gigahertz also available, right? So that means in my case 2.2 means just 0.2 billions of cycles per second, and sometime for some execution it may take only just 4 to 5 cycles. You can addition එකක් කරන සාමාන්‍යයෙන් 9ක් 10ක් cycles, එහෙම නැත්නම් ඒ කියන්නේ architecture එක හැටියට instruction architecture එක හැටියට වෙනස් වෙනවා අවශ්‍ය කරන cycles ප්‍රමාණය. So based on the number of cycles you may just perform one operation, and just assume how many operations will be there within just one thread, right? Typically not in billions, right? සාමාන්‍ය ඉච්චර ගණනක් තියෙන බොහොම සාමාන්‍ය program එකේ තියෙන හරි ටිකයි until you perform some scientific computational task, right? So in that case you may find we can actually handle large number of threads, right? Because each processor, each of these logical processor can handle one thread at any given time, and also they are working in typical time. It works just 2.2 billions, right? 2.2 billion cycles per second, and only few cycles will be utilized just to perform one operation. ඒ කියන්නේ තප්පරයකට අපිට සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මිලියන කීපයක ඔපරේෂන්ස් කරන්න පුළුවන් එක ලොජිකල් ප්‍රොසෙස් එකකින්. එහෙම නැත්නම් එක thread එකකට මිලියනයක විතර process operations කරන්න පුළුවන්. Right? And here it actually run in the speed of 3.7, right? 3.6 somewhere, yeah, somewhere like that, right? And still the utilization is 43. So what does that mean? This can be even increased, right? Make it 3.67, make a overclock කරන්න පුළුවන්. මට මතක හිටියට above 4, right? 4ටත් වැඩි overclock කරන්න පුළුවන් මේ process එක. So that means it can even go for just 4 billion, right? 4 billion. Can make අවශ්‍යතාවය අනුව මේකේ clock speed එක වෙනස් වෙනවා. Now you can find how many threads are we having. We are running around 3003, right? 3000, yeah, it's actually changing. We are running around 3000, right? 3000 threads at this time within just 226 or 227 processors for the process, right? ඒ කියන්නේ මෙන්න මෙච්චර ප්‍රමාණයක threads actually run වෙන්නේ මෙන්න මේ ප්‍රමාණයක process වලින්. ඒ කියන්නේ අපිට සාමාන්‍ය එක process එකක threads කීපයක් තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. Right? Also you can find the other informations, right? Like whether you have the virtualization, whether you have L1 cache, L2 cache, L3 cache, and what is the value of the cache, likewise, right? So I wanted to show this one because that then how you will understand what are the threads and how many threads currently running in your machine, right? And also what are the process and how do these process works on each and every computer. And one more thing, I want to show something here, that is a GPU. Okay, we'll see the same in GPU, let's say NVIDIA, right? So this is a special processor, right? A bit different from, okay, I will not use the same, right? It's not streaming processors. Now, as you can see, there are lots of cores inside a GPU, right? General processing unit. So this is mostly for parallelizing the data, right? Again, parallelizing the execution. So what we do is we have the same operation, right? We have to do the same operations over multiple data, right? A kind of single operations over multiple data. So because of that, we have very lightweight cores, right? Lightweight cores, many lightweight cores within the same processor, right? ඔගොල්ලෝ සාමාන්‍යයෙන් බැලුවොත් NVIDIA GTX, let's say not GTX, right? Let's say RTX 20, yeah. Specification. So this is one of the latest GPU, right? So graphic processing unit, which actually can be not actually used for the graphic processing, right? Because graphic processing unit typically used by the gamers and other industry, 3D creators, 3D content creators, and other people. But let's see what it can do with the general processing. There you go. Right, its clock speed is not quite large like our typical processor, right? It has having kind of boosted clock speed of 1.7 gigahertz. So that means it can actually perform only 1.7 billion cycles. But see what happens with the cores. It's 10,496 cores, right? Cores 10,496ක් තියෙනවා, CUDA cores. Now these are not heavy cores, right? Extremely heavy cores like we saw here, right? මෙතන තියෙන course 12යි. මේ වගේ 1000 ගණක් තියෙනවා. නමුත් මේ core එකක් වගේ heavy නැහැ මේ core එකක්. මේක lightweight core එකක්. But still it can perform more any of the operation, right? Including addition, multiplication, division, even floating point division. Those things can be done with this course. But just see how many number of cores, right? කොච්චර course තියනවද? 10,496, right? And also the memory, the shared memory is actually 24 GB, right? And also the memory bus, this is the lane size, it's 384 bit, right? See the bandwidth, unbelievable, right? 936 gigabits per second, right? Gigabits per second, right? And likewise, there are other type of cores also available, right? මෙතන තියෙන RD cores, tensor cores කියලා එකක් තියෙනවා, right? And also SLI, this is for just linking multiple cards together. So likewise, we have many different cores. Now, anyway, what I need to tell you is these cores are different from the cores that we have in our computer like this. But anyway, they serve the same, almost same purpose, right? But since we have just this amount of cores, we can process large amount of data. Especially we have to do the same operation to the other data. I can හිතන්න ඔයගලන්ට තියනවා කියලා you have 10,496 values. Sorry, the variables, right? Variable 10,496ක් තියෙනවා. මේ variable 10,496ෙම value එක වැඩි කරන්න ඕන එකකින්, right? So you don't have to wait at least a second, right? Or at least a millisecond, right? If your variables are allocated in your host device, sorry, the device means the GPU. So within a nanosecond, all 10,496 variables will be increased within a nanosecond, right? එක තප්පරයක් එක nanosecond එකක්, right? nano තප්පරයක් ඇතුළතදී සම්පූර්ණ variable 10,496ම value එක එකකින් වැඩි වෙනවා, right? So this can be done. Now this is the main reason we use this CUDA core especially, right? Or maybe RTX or GTX, whatever the NVIDIA card which supports CUDA architecture to do machine learning, right? Because machine learning means we are working with lots of neurons together, right? Especially if we use a deep learning model, right? There will be, it's a neural network, and it's a synthetic neural network or artificial neural network, which will have maybe billions or maybe just several billions of neurons. So while we are training this model, then we need to perform many operations, or maybe the same operations, maybe just adding some adding some weight value, or adding some punishment penalty to the neurons all at once. So since we have to do this many more times, and at the same time many more, or the millions of neurons within a fraction of second or within a fraction of time, so we have to use this kind of processors, right? But this is a kind of different aspects in concurrent programming, not really really similar to this one we typically use in general programming, right? But it necessarily almost same, right? It can concept wise එක සමානයි. Right, in C#, we have to understand what is the life cycle of a thread, right? Now in the life cycle of the thread in C#, we have unstarted thread, right? Or unstarted state of the thread. So unstarted means when the instance of the thread class is created, but it is still not started. Because start method එක call කරලා නැහැ. ඒ කියන්නේ මේක unstarted state එකේ තියෙන්නේ. So by default it is in unstarted soon after you instantiate a thread class. And what is the runnable state? Runnable state means when you call start, right? When you call the method start, now I will show you, right? I will simply remove this one. Right, now I just create an object from this thread, and this is T1. This one is actually unstarted, right? Now this is in unstarted while it is running, right? I make a run කරන්න වැඩක් නැහැ because the thread is not started yet, right? Nothing happened. Only the main thread started because it will be started by the system itself. So we don't have to worry about the other child thread because it has not been started by ourselves, right? And what happens when you send it to the runnable state? There you go. Right now, soon after you call this one, it becomes the runnable state, not the running state, right? But eventually, if something is in the runnable state, it can come into the runnable running state as well. Right. So when you call the start method, it's going to be just runnable state, right? Then කාට හරි කියනවා runnable state එකක ඉන්නවා කියන්නේ එයා execute වෙනවද? නැහැ. එයා execute වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Right? එයා නමුත් execute වෙන්න ready. ඕන වෙලාවක process එකකට ගිහිල්ලා execute වෙන්න පුළුවන්. නමුත් එයා දැනට ඉන්න process එකෙන් එළිය. හැබැයි එයා ready. And running state mean when your thread or the runnable the thread in the runnable state go into the processor and be executed at any given time, right? So now at that time, while it is running, we call it as it is in the running state, right? So at any given time, only one thread can run within just one logical processor. Logical processor means, what's the logical processor? Logical processor එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ, if you have just 4 cores with hyperthreading, then there will be just 8 logical processors, right? A logical processor actually mean to run only one thread at a time, right? So while it is running, we call that thread is in the running state. And then we have another state called not runnable state. So not runnable state is different from unstarted state and runnable state. It's definitely, it's obvious, right? Not runnable state is different from runnable state, but anyway, it's even different from the unstarted state because not runnable states typically should come through the runnable state, right? Where thread එක create කරපුවම unstarted, ඊට පස්සේ ඔය thread එක start කරපුවම runnable state එකේ, but eventually you can send that thread back thread to the not runnable state, right? Not how do you send it to the not runnable state? You can call sleep or wait, right? You can call the method sleep or wait. So when you call sleep, so that means that thread becomes not runnable, right? That means that thread will never go to the processor until you call interrupt or maybe the given timeout is elapsed. ඒ කියන්නේ අපිට thread එකක් sleep කරන්න පුළුවන් අපි දීලා තියෙන වෙලාවට. අපිට මිලි තප්පර ගණනක් දෙන්න පුළුවන් මෙන්න මෙච්චර මිලි තප්පර ගානකට මේ thread එක නවත්තලා තියන්න කියලා. right? අන්න ඒ වෙලාවේදී thread එක ඇත්තටම start වෙලා හැබැයි දැන් අපි කියනවා run වෙන්න එපා කියලා. Right? Now it's in sleep state. And at the same time, we can do the same with the wait. Right? We can ask it for the wait not to go to the running state. Right? So there is a way to wake up a sleeping thread by using the interrupt. Right? අපිට interrupt කරන්න පුළුවන් sleep වෙන හරි නැත්නම් wait වෙන හරි thread එකක්. Then it can be come back into the runnable state and eventually go to the running state as well. And then we have dead state, right? After completing a task, then the thread enters to the dead or the terminated state, right? ඔක තමයි සාමාන්‍ය life cycle එක. So these are the typical properties of a thread in C#. You can actually check what is the current thread, right? It returns the instance of the currently running thread. ඒ කියන්නේ දැනට running state එකේ තියෙන thread එක අපිට ගන්න පුළුවන් මෙන්න මේ property එකෙන්. And also we can check whether the thread is alive. ඒ කියන්නේ එක dead state එකට ගියේ නැද්ද කියලා බලන්න පුළුවන්. Right? So this is used to find the execution state of the thread. Also we can check whether it is background or not. Right? Now is background can be even set. Right? You can set this variable, it's a boolean, right? We can set whether it's a background thread or not, and this is used to set the value whether the current thread is in background or not. I will explain what happens with the background thread and what happens without the without we set in the background thread true or false. And then we can just manage the thread ID. Sorry, we can actually get the thread ID of a managed thread, right? So if you assign a thread ID, then you can actually get the ID back. And also you can assign a name for the thread, and also you can set the priority. Now this is, if you just have more than one thread, it's going to have more than it's going to have a kind of schedule for execution of this thread. So which thread is going to be CPU more often can be defined by the priority. And also the thread state. Now it will simply returns the value representing the thread state, right? What is the current state of the thread? And at the same time, we have these threads methods in the C# abort method. So the abort can be used to terminate the thread, right? If you call abort, even though it is in the processor CPU, or maybe it is just in runnable state or running state, now it's going to be terminated in soon, right? And it also raises an exception called thread abort exception, right? Thread abort exception ke exception ekakut raise karana. And also you have the method interrupt. Now interrupt is used to interrupt a thread which is in sleep, wait, or join state, right? So I told you this before, we can actually interrupt a thread in sleep or wait. And at the same time in C#, if you call join, right, or join කියන එක call කරොත් ඒ join කියන එක interrupt කරන්නත් පුළුවන්. ඒ කියන්නේ join කියනවා, අපි join එක thread එකක ඉඳලා join කියලා අනිත් thread එකට join කරොත් ඒ කියන්නේ අපි call කරපු thread එක ඇත්තටම එයා wait වෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ එයා නැවතිලා බලාගෙන ඉන්නවා අර අපි join call කරපු thread එක ඉවර වෙනකම්, right? If we can just interrupt it maybe some from external thread, ඒ කියන්නේ අර wait වෙලා ඉන්න thread එක අපිට external thread එකක ඉඳලා interrupt කරන්න පුළුවන් නම් එතකොට අන්න එයා අර join කියන keyword එක නැත්නම් join කියන method එකකින් ඇත්තටම අයින් වෙනවා. එතකොට ඒකෙන් ඒකට නැවතිලා බලාගෙන හිටපු එකෙන් වැළකෙනවා, right? Also we have the join itself, we call this one, and also you know what to do with the join. And reset abort is also there. So that means when you call abort, right, and I told you now it raises the thread abort exception, and while it calls the thread abort exception, or while it throws the thread abort exception, so if you can catch that thread abort exception, then within the catch block you can call reset abort. So when you call reset abort, then it simply stop aborting, or the stop the abortion of the thread, right? ඒ කියන්නේ thread එක abort කරන එක නවත්තනවා මේ reset abort එකෙන්, right? එතකොට මොකද අපි එක්කෙනෙක් abort කරන්න කියනවා, අපි reset abort එක අපි thread exception handling එකේදී exception catch block එකේදී අපි call කරොත් එතකොට ඒ thread එක ආයේ නවතින එක නැත්නම් termination එක stop වෙනවා. එතකොට නවතින්නේ thread එක දිගටම වැඩ කරනවා. And we have this resume. This is to resume from suspended thread, but anyway, both the suspension and the resume now has been obsolete. It's obsolete. Obsolete means it's going to be removed in near future, right? So we normally use resume and suspend. Also, it has a thread has sleep, which requires an int32 value. That means the whole number has to be provided. Now, if you just provide a whole number, then that means that number of milliseconds, the thread will be slept for that number of milliseconds, right? ඒ කියන්නේ ඒ වෙලාව වෙනකන් thread එක වැඩ කරන්නේ නැහැ කියන එකයි එකකින් කියන්නේ. Also, you can start, right? You can actually start a thread by calling the start, right? This is cross-thread accessing. Now, in C#, you cannot access. You can, but anyway, it will raise a warning message, and sometimes it becomes an error based on the configuration of your IDE, right? Why? Because you cannot access your user interface from another thread, right? You can external or create කරපු thread එකකින් ඔයාගේ main UI එක access කරන්න බෑ, right? Because it's unsafe to do so, right? So, but anyway, it permits cross-thread access by doing it in very safe way. You can see how you can do it in this way, right? As you can see, when you have a running thread, right? Now this is actually running on a the workers thread, right? Workers thread means user defined thread. So there you change the value of the user interface. අපේ user interface එකේ තියෙන label කියලා, right? label එකක් තියෙනවා. මේ label එකට අපි දානවා value එකක්, right? label එකට value එකක් දානවා. මේ value එක දාන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ අපිට මෙන්න මේ වගේ invoke, right? with the invoke and the delegator, invoke and the method delegate, right? Otherwise it will give you an error. I will show you how it happens. Right, to do that I have to open a new project. It's going to be a Windows application, Windows Form application, cross thread demo. If you're having trouble, I will reopen it. Right, it's fully loaded, so we can just I will create a I create a text box and okay, I will name it with txt names. Right, so and also I will create a button. And I will give a name for that as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just generate something from a let's say I'm going to just generate a name, right? Generating is actually I'm going to pick some name from a thread, right? Or maybe from a list of values, arrays, right? Right, let's see how to do that. Okay, first of all, I will implement this one generate. Right, here I will create a method public void my generate, right? So within this one, I will just create a for loop. So within the for loop, I have, okay, let's say 100. Also, I want to create a list of names here. So I will create an array, string array. Okay, I can use this one, right? String names equal, yeah, it works, right? So okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just let me, okay, I have some names. There you go. Right, I want this to append. Right, it's possible.
Right. I have some set of names and I'm going to just pick a name from this set of names, right? So to do that, I'm going to create a random number as well. Great. Right. Now what I need to do is, so I'm just, okay, not 1000, right? We'll use around, yeah, 1000 is okay. And while doing this, I'm going to just sleep the thread as well. Let's say 100 and thread dot sleep for around 100 into 1000, right? Just 10 milliseconds or maybe 30 milliseconds. Right. I need to import threading. There you go. But here we can actually run this one, but anyway, nothing happened because we just get a random name from this list and I assign it to a name here, right? A variable, and we just do it. We can execute this one, but still nothing would happen, right? How do we execute? Thread equal new thread, and we can just place generate thread and then t.start. Right. So we'll run this one and so when you generate, nothing would happen, right? Now you can see what happens when I put it here. My text name is txt. Okay, so txt names dot value. Sorry, the text, right? It should be text equal name, right? Hello, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Okay. There must be some problem in the connection, I guess. Right. As you can see now here, we get the cross-thread operation not valid exception. Right. Now this is the problem that we have to handle. Right. So this is the problem that we have to handle. So how do we handle? We simply need to establish this code. Right. So as you can see, we have not a we don't have a label. Instead, we have just a text box. You can simply call this invoke and then method invoker delegate, and then you can assign the value in this way, right? So that's that's what we have to do. So I will show you what happened here. Simply stop the code, right? And okay, we need this one. You can say txt names dot invoke. So within the invoke, we have to provide a method invoker, and here it's a delegate. By the way, I will provide what is delegate in near future. And now this within this invoker we can do. Okay, we don't need this one, right? We can do this. Now it's quite different, right? We are doing the same thing, but in different way. So we are just invoking. We don't just possibly put a value here, right? We do not just put possible value possibly. Instead, we just invoke, right? මේ කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? මේක හරියට අපි නිකන් හිතන්නකො සතෙකුට කෑමක් දෙනවා කියලා. අපිට විදිහ දෙකක් තියෙන. එකක් තමයි සතාගේ කට ඇරලා මේ කෑම කවන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට හිතන්න ඒ වෙලාවේ සතා ලෑස්ති නැත්නම් ඒ කියන්නේ ඒ වෙලාවේ සතාට බඩගිනි නැත්නම් මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? එතකොට කෑම කවන එක කියන්නේ ineffective. ඒ නැත්නම් ඒක unsafe. right? අනිවාර්යෙන් සතා කෑම ටික එළියට දානවා. එහෙම නැත්නම් ඒ ටික බඩට යන්නේ නැහැ. right? හැබැයි අපි මෙහෙම කරොත් අපි සතාට පොඩි පිඟානකට කෑම ටික දාලා දෙනවා. right? ඔයාට බඩගිනි වෙලාවට කන්න. right? ඒ වගේ. එතකොට මේකෙදි වෙන්නේ අන්න ඒ වගේ දෙයක්. we just invoke, right? අපි නැත්තම් එයාට කියනවා මෙන්න ඔයාගේ කැම ටික තියෙනවා. ඔයා ෆ්‍රී වෙලාවක ඔයාට බඩගිනි වෙලාවක ඔයාට මේ ටික කන්න පුළුවන්. right? එතකොට මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? කොයි වෙලාවක හරි මේ අපි දීපු වැලියු එක ගාව තියෙනවා. එයාට බඩගිනි වෙන වෙලාවෙදි එයා මේක අරගෙන කාලා එයා ජීවත් වෙනවා. right? ඒ වගේම තමයි මෙතන text name txt names කියන එකට එයා සමහරට busy වෙන්න පුළුවන්, වෙන value එකක් assign කරනවා වෙන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැත්නම් එයාගේ තියෙන මොන හරි වෙන value එකක් පෙන්නනවා වෙන්න පුළුවන්, right? එහෙම නැත්නම් වෙනත් thread එකක් එයාගේ value එක වෙනස් කරනවා වෙන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැත්නම් user එයාගේ value එක වෙනස් කරනවා වෙන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙමත් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. මොකද මේක මොකද්ද user interface එක කියන එක userට වෙනස් කරන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට ඒ වගේ වෙලාවෙදී අපි දෙන value එකක් එයාට ගන්න බෑ, right? Because it's in the different process. So because of that, what we are doing is we are just giving a value. Okay, here's the value. Whenever you have the freedom or whenever you have the free time to get this value and show the value, then show it, right? So that's what we do here, right? අපි forcibly කරන්නේ නැතුව මේ විදිහට කරනවා. Now let's run the program and check what happened. Now it's working, right? And you can do it again. See, it's the final one is Charlotte, and let's run it again. Lanes, Oliver, Olivia. See, likewise, we get the different names because we just get it from random. We get it randomly. And at the same time, what if we call generate 2 times? So there will be just 2 threads. It doesn't matter, right? Why? Even though there are multiple threads who are going to access this user interface, right? I can make a key call it creates multiple T, right? Multiple threads. So that means it's simply create 3 of these execution and then tries to put the value, inject the value to this text box in different times or maybe the same time. But anyway, it doesn't matter since we just use this invoke method, there will be no any cross-thread exception, right? Instead, what would happen? It simply shows, okay, the value whenever the text box is feasible to get the value, then it will show the value there, right? Right. So we can stop the code now. So you can try doing other stuff as well. For an example, change the value of the text box through the thread, right? Likewise, you can try doing it. Anyway, I will give you one exercise now. Well, I hope you understand what is numerological value means. So what is numerological value? Numerological value කියලා කියන්නේ අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අර සමහරු කියන්නේ මේ උපන් දිනේ එකට එකතු කරලා උපන් දිනේ 1990යි 12යි 20 නම් එතකොට ඔයා 1යි 9යි 9යි 0යි 1යි 2යි 2යි 0 ඔය ටික ඔක්කොම එකතු කරාට පස්සේ එන වැලියු එක නම්බර දෙක එකක් නම් නැත්නම් ඩිජිට් දෙකක නම් එහෙම නැත්නම් ඩිජිට් 3ක නම් ඔයා ඩිජිට් 3ම එකතු කරනවා එකට. ඉතින් ඩිජිට් 3ම එකතු කරපුවාම නැත්නම් ඩිජිට් එකක් නම් ආවේ ඒක තමයි නියුමරිකල් වැලියු. බැරිලා ඩිජිට් එකක් ආවොත් ආපහු ඒ ඩිජිට් දෙක එකට එකතු කරනවා. ඔය වගේ අර තියෙන ඩිජිට්ස් එකට එකතු කරගෙන යනවා තනි ඩිජිට් එකක් එනකම්. ඒ තනි ඩිජිට් එක තමයි ඔයාගේ නියුමරිකල් වැලියු එක වෙන්නේ. ඒ වගේ මේ ක්වෙස්චන් එකේ එක්සර්සයිස් එකේ තියෙන්නේ මොන හරි ඔයා දෙනවනේ වැලියු එකක්. ඒ කියන්නේ හිතන්න 8950 කියලා දෙනවනම් එතකොට 8 9 5 බිංදුව එකට එකතු කරලා ගන්න වැලියු එක අරගන්න ෆන්ක්ෂන් එකක් ලියන්න තියෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ බිංදුවේ ඉඳන් 99999ට වෙනකන් ඒ නියුමරොලොජිකල් වැලියු එක 5 වෙන values ටික කවුන්ට් කරන්නයි තියෙන්නේ. right ඊට පස්සේ ඒක parallel loop එකකින් implement කරන්න තියෙනවා. implement කළා ඒකට ඒ දෙකටම යන කියන්නේ sequential implementation එකටයි parallel implementation එකටයි යන වෙලාව බලන්නයි තියෙන්නේ. right ඕක තමයි කරන්න තියෙන්නේ exercise එක. ඕක කරන මොන හරි questions තියෙනවා නම් ඔයගොල්ලන්ට දාන්න පුළුවන් මේකේ මේ page එකේ දාන්න පුළුවන්. right අපේ මේ Google Classroom එකේ දාන්න පුළුවන්.